because, listen, Jayden Daniels has had the rookie season I thought Caleb would. Propelled the team in the playoff hunt, flirted with MVP contention. Right, and so all of those things. So he is.
Okay. I know that was a very short little clip, but I really wanted to isolate that because think about what he just said. Think of all of the hype around Caleb Williams. All of the content that was generated going in from the offseason, before the draft, then like when we got officially into the offseason, and preseason, I should say, and all of that. And it was all Caleb. And now, of course, and I've talked about that. And now, of course, Jayden Daniels' content and just conversations, I'm using the word content very loosely here, was still lagging. But it definitely was still generated. He got, especially Jayden getting off to the hot start that he did. People were kind of loosely talking about MVP conversation. A historic, I forget, what was it, a 3-4 game stretch with like the highest completion percentage of any quarterback, let alone just a rookie, all of these types of stuff. But if you think about it, there's still such significantly less conversations about Jayden Daniels and the Washington Commanders than Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. Which makes it extra crazy when you think that Nick now was the highest of anyone out there on the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams, right? Before Caleb even got into the NFL, he had Caleb as like a top 8, whatever it was, quarterback in the NFL. Like before, he had him above established starters, had him on his, Mahomes mountain, and said that the Bears are going to the Super Bowl. All of that type of stuff. Now we know he obviously was ultra hyped on them, and he ended up wrong, but it's fine. It was his opinion. That part is kind of irrelevant. But to think though that now that quarterback, that team is obviously nowhere near that, and now we have this other rookie and this other team, legitimately contenders. Listen, do I think that they're going to get to the Super Bowl? I think it's a very hard journey to get there. So I'm not predicting they're going to get to the Super Bowl, but we do know that let's say someone like Nick, and this isn't anything that I'm just using Nick as a reference point, that if the Commanders were who Nick said were going to go to the Super Bowl, right? Since he just said they're having the season that I thought, what do you think those conversations would have been having, right? It would be the Washington Commanders are going to the Super Bowl. Look at this. Look at their record. Look what they're about to do. Right? Like, it would be built up even more. It would be too inflated, quite frankly. And I would be the one who'd be like, hey, you guys know I'm really high on the Commanders, but, like, let's put this in perspective. Like, I would have to, like, be the one pulling it down a little bit because it would be too high. But it's just a sheer fact that they're having this season that the vast majority of people did not think was even remotely going to happen, let alone a lot of people, maybe not as high as what Nick thought about going to the Super Bowl and all of that, but a lot of people were ultra high on the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams. Why is it that there's still such a lack of energy? Like, at this point, and this is my read on the situation, the Washington Commanders and the Jayden Daniels content that we get is almost like lip service. It's almost like, yeah, well, we got to talk about them, obviously, because Jayden's having a great year. He's having the best rookie season so far, and the Washington Commanders have been really great. Like, it feels like lip service more than anything. And again, because look at this. We have way more, just in the last 2 days alone, or just first things first, we'll use that as an example. There's been, every single show has had, this whole week, has had Caleb Williams content. Caleb Williams, Chicago Bears. Now, I forget when they officially fired Shane Waldron, if that was on Tuesday or Monday, I forget. Now, I get firing a coordinator and all of that, losing, when you have high expectations, makes it kind of newsworthy and all of that. But I guess, like, and this is not just first things first, this is like any of the shows out there. Like, why was there no, like, there was more of a breakdown of what happened with Caleb Williams versus the Patriots. Why was there no conversation really about the Washington Commanders versus Pittsburgh Steelers? What did the Washington Commanders do wrong? How did they let that game slip away? What does Jayden Daniels need to do better? What did he do great? Like, there was no actual conversation around that game, at least that I wasn't really able to find it, which is what makes me happy that I did my post game immediately, right? I did, as soon as that game ended, I did like a post game clip, and I was just like, oh, don't worry, I'm going to unpack this game more. And there was just like not that much content around it. Fortunately, I did do that post game clip and did a breakdown. And then now here I am on Thursday thinking about it, and I'm like, well, wait a second, like, why is there still such a lack of and it's like I'm trying to keep up with the content, and before I know it, I'm like, why is there such a lack? Like, that is the best soundbite right there, and that's why I isolated it, because I was doing a Caleb Williams clip. I did this, and I was like, dude, I can't believe he just said what he said. And I knew I was going to make a Chicago Bears video, so I was like, I'm not going to address that right there. I might have like made a little quick comment about it, but I was like, I'm definitely going to make a video all about this, because that's a very, very, very confident and bold statement to make. Jayden Daniels is having the season that I thought Caleb Williams was going to be having, right? Playing like a top quarterback in the NFL, being in the MVP conversation, and making his team into Super Bowl contention. And yet it's still so under discussed. Think about the generational talent that everyone put on Caleb. All of that hype, all of that energy. This quarterback can be the next Mahomes. Scratch that. He will be the next Mahomes. This dude is unbelievable. We're calling it the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. They've been talking about that for 2 years. I mean, like, this was hype on hype on hype on hype. And now we have a quarterback in Jayden Daniels and the Washington Commanders doing what they thought that generational quarterback was going to be doing. The amount of content and the conversations that are having around Jayden Daniels does not equal that. Does not equal that conclusion. And that's kind of insane to me. And again, this was something that I predicted going in, in the offseason, going into this season, where I said, hey, he's up against a narrative. He's up against the hype of Caleb. But I didn't think it was going to look like this. I thought Caleb was going to at least be balling out or playing significantly better. And at least it would be like, all right, there's a lot to talk about. Now, maybe since Caleb Williams and that the Bears team is failing to meet expectations so spectacularly that's like almost the equivalent of him balling out. It's just on the just on the negative side. And we know negativity can drive clicks and all of that, right? Like, concern Caleb is losing a locker room. Like, that is an interesting conversation to be had. And I do want to have that conversation. That's why I made a video about it as well. So like, I just love having conversations. So I'm all about it. But it's just so fascinating to me that we can say Caleb Williams had the most insane hype that I've honestly seen, that I've personally have been part of. And to now see that quarterback come up short, and we have another quarterback who's having the success that people thought this generational talent was going to have, yet he's not getting that generational talent, hype, content, conversations, media attention, whatever. And it's I find it fascinating. I find it sad. I find it frustrating. I mean, honestly, it leaves a door for me open for me to like step in and be like, all right, you guys aren't going to talk about it. I'll talk about it. Like, fine, I'll be that guy. Bring it on. Let's go. But it's still, and it can't just be media. I know Chicago has a massive media market, but Washington does too. Washington isn't like, I don't know, man, like Nova Scotia. Like, I don't like it's Washington. It's the East Coast. It's a massive major market, and you're definitely getting fans and people from all around, from New York, Philly, Delaware, Jersey. Right, like you're getting this full circle. West Virginia, I don't know. Like, you're gonna be getting people all around. So it's not on an island. So it's really fascinating to me. It really, really is. And last year, right, we had the whole Bryce Young, almost said Bryce Harper, Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. Now, Bryce Young did not have that hype. Yeah, he was the number one pick, but no one was saying he was generational, this, that. Like, it just didn't have that energy. So then when CJ Stroud stepped up, it was easy for people to flock to him, and people weren't constantly 24/7 talking about what's going on with Bryce, oh my God, the Panthers. Nobody was picking Bryce and the Panthers to go to the Super Bowl. That was not the conversation. And CJ Stroud did come out of seemingly nowhere, relatively speaking. Obviously, people believed in CJ, but I don't think many people were expecting him to have the season that he had, as well as the Texans. But with that said, the Texans and CJ Stroud, for that matter, they kind of are in their own little island. They kind of are in their own little small market. So it made sense as to why maybe people weren't ultra high. Although with that said, I do specifically remember watching shows like First Things First and The Herd and being fed CJ Stroud content. Hey, this kid's awesome. This kid's awesome. This kid's awesome. Hey, he should have been the number one pick. Like, it was a lot. Now, again, granted, there was only so much content to be had about Bryce. It was more like, hey, Bryce is not really competing, playing well. They're with the Panthers. Yeah, we'll have a few clips here and there, but like, we're not going to be doing this all day like we're going to do with Caleb right now. So it was easy to kind of elevate CJ to some of this, to some of these content. So it's just, I don't know, man. It's just, I still find it kind of like how do we get beyond this? And I think it's unfortunate too, because this is being made before the Philadelphia Eagles game. So if you're watching this after the Eagles game, this might not necessarily be directly relevant, but it's just like, let's say he beats the Philadelphia Eagles and he plays great. It's like, will that be enough? Right now, beating like an actual legitimate division rival who actually has a chance at winning, right? Like, who cares about the Giants? And at this point, who's going to care about the Cowboys? It's pretty meaningless, right? Beating Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles, like, that would be a huge moment. That definitely would be a huge moment. But also, if the Eagles beat the Commanders, and let's say Jayden Daniels, I don't know, doesn't play great, or let's say he just plays average, he plays pretty good, right? Nothing spectacular, maybe makes a couple really awesome throws, but, they just lose. Happens, obviously. It's like, will that be a story? Like, I'm fascinated to see what the conversations will be on Friday. Like, if he loses, well, then people will be like, hey, Jayden Daniels, he's cooled down, or what's wrong with Jayden Daniels? Like, I'm really fascinated to see. A part of me, and I just understand what I'm saying, a part of me almost wants to see him not play well and the Commanders not play well, just to see if then they'll make the comment. Then they'll be like, Jayden Daniels, it was fun while it lasted, but he's a rookie, right? Like, that's kind of what Colin, in a way, said against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I was like, well, wait a second, he didn't play bad that game. Because then they highlighted, his career lows. And I was like, all right, well, the dude's only played a handful of games, so he's guaranteed to have a career low game this season. Like, that's obviously going to happen. It's a guarantee he will have a career low. Like, that's the way this thing works, man. So, and again, I want to emphasize, I'm not like saying I want Jayden Daniels to fail. Like, I'm trusting you guys know what I'm saying there. Yeah, honestly, I'm excited for this game. I'm excited to see what, because I'm recording this and getting this out as quickly as possible. So it'll be interesting to see once the Herd goes on and First Things First, stuff like that. I assume they're going to talk about it, because usually these shows do talk about the Thursday night game and try to be like, who do you got? Who's going to win? Who needs this game more? Jalen Hurts or Jayden Daniels? Like, I'm fascinated to see if that content comes out and in what way and what are the discussions that are being had. I'll definitely, if it actually exists, if it actually is, I'll break it down. But at the very least, we'll talk about more about Jayden and the Philadelphia Eagles, for that matter, tomorrow as well. But I'm excited for this game. I have no predictions whatsoever. This is another game that I really just want to sit back, relax, and just honestly enjoy. Like, I'm just looking for interesting things to happen, not rooting for anyone, one or the other. I just want to watch a great game. I think this is a tough spot for Jayden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. This is a game that the Eagles should win, being at home. They have the momentum. They have the more established roster and team right now. So, it is in their favor. The deck is more stacked in their favor than the Washington Commanders. And so if they win, it would only make it all the more impressive. So I'm excited to see how this all unfolds. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Jayden Daniels and the Washington Commanders, and the fact that Nick is saying that Jayden is literally having the season that he thought Caleb Williams was going to be having? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.